So I saw some movies this year in 2021. 10 to be exact. At least. More than 10. But let's remember 10, because we like that. Hello everyone, welcome to Film Fireside. Thanks for tuning in. You know how this goes. Top 10 films of 2021. I'm gonna rank the movies I saw in 2021. Needless to say, I haven't reviewed any of these. And maybe this is a good time to say that I don't know what the future of this channel is gonna be, because I'm kind of over reviewing. I have a lot more fun when I do analysis on this channel, so this may be more of like a film analysis type of channel moving forward. I may not be trying to like catch every movie and review just all the movies in the year. I think I want to do more like film history, kind of fun stuff on this channel. Let me know what you think in the comments about that. Or if you're like, no, like I can't see a movie unless Film Fireside reviews it. To all my 100 subscribers. Still deciding how I want to go about this, but yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to give like a little brief review right now as I go through my list. No top 10 list isn't complete without doing honorable mentions. So let's honorably mention some films that didn't make the list this year. My honorable mentions this year in no particular order are as follows: Spider-Man No Way Home, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Nightmare Alley, Pig, Coda, and Nobody. There you go. Honorably mentioned. Some great movies this year. And let's just do it. Top 10 movies. Number 10. Licorice Pizza. Paul Thomas Anderson and I have had a weird relationship. I was just on the phone with him the other day and I was like, you know how weird our relationship is? Isn't that so weird? No, just his films, and I've been weird about his films. I don't know. I need to study Paul Thomas Anderson a lot more because I think I need to understand his language a little bit more. So I was really excited to see Licorice Pizza for that purpose. I went and saw it with my brother-in-law, and I think he described it perfectly, that it's one of Paul Thomas Anderson's more palatable films, meaning you can kind of like just casually enjoy the movie a little more without having to put so much work into it. And I think I'm one, you know me, I'm not one who's like against putting into work into a movie, but the only two movies of his I've seen are There Will Be Blood and The Master, and I feel like I've missed some things with both of those, and I've only seen them each once. I just want to watch them again. So that being said, Licorice Pizza was so funny. One of the best comedy of the year, I would say. I loved Licorice Pizza so much. It was done so tastefully, done so well, with so much style and class that just was so heartwarming and so fun. I loved Licorice Pizza. Definitely go see Licorice Pizza if you haven't seen that one yet. Tick, Tick, Boom. That was a movie, I've done this before with films where I'll watch the movie and be like, that was pretty good. And then like, the more I think about it, I'm like, no, that was amazing. Oh my gosh, that was good. Tick, Tick, Boom was fantastic. If you've watched my channel before, you know I'm very particular when it comes to movie musicals. You gotta just make a movie that is a musical. You know what I mean? You can't try to combine both of the art forms or else it isn't gonna go very well. This one is really cool because they didn't try to do any of like the musical theater elements of this film necessarily. At least I don't think so, other than they're singing musical theater songs, right? Everything just flowed so perfectly. The sound design of this was really, really fun as well. And my gosh, this is such a cool story. What a really, really cool and surprisingly relatable story that was just awe-inspiring. And for me, I was very, very touched by this movie. The entire cast of Tick, Tick, Boom totally excels. Lin-Manuel Miranda directed the garbage out of this movie. If I were to be nominating people for Best Director this year, I probably would be nominating Lin-Manuel Miranda. If I had say of how things are gonna go at the Oscars, I would be putting Lin-Manuel Miranda in that I would be putting Lin-Manuel Miranda in the Best Direction category because he deserves it. He did so great with this film. 2 thumbs up for Lin-Manuel, and definitely see Tick, Tick, Boom if you haven't. It's on Netflix. Super good movie.
Was I banging a lot on the wall?
You are banging a lot on the wall.
I'm so sorry.
You need to not.
Box fell.
You need to stop having sex with people. I'm still recording.
All right, I'm gonna take this out.
Okay. What should I do with this footage?
I don't know. You can like keep it in, but add like a funny video of like, I don't know, of me going like this.
Add a funny video of you going like this.
No, don't keep it
Don't keep it in?
in. You can keep a little bit of it in. Only any of it that I'm being cute.
Better keep all of it. Judas and the Black Messiah, but wasn't that 2020? No, it was 2021. This is the only one I actually have reviewed on this. I really love Judas and the Black Messiah. The film has stuck with me even basically a full year later. If you haven't seen Judas and the Black Messiah yet, it is on HBO Max now. It's a hard film to sit through during certain times. It's just, there's been some dumb stuff that's happened in our country, and this is a movie about that, you know. Now, it's more than that, but you know, there's a lot more to the story, and it's executed very, very well. So definitely go watch Judas and the Black Messiah. It's fantastic. Power of the Dog, I was pleasantly surprised. There was like a lot of hype about this movie after awards season. So usually when a film gets hype, my expectations kind of go, you know, just naturally, I think it's like a defense mechanism because I don't want to get disappointed. So there was a lot of hype from this film. So I went into it pretty like, I hadn't watched a trailer for it or anything. I just wanted to just sit down and watch it, and wow, I was not ready for it. It's so good. This film, to me, pulled out all the stops in that it used so many different techniques. One of the great things about film is it can capture many art forms in one. Even just within making a movie, there's production design, there's cinematography, you know how it goes. I didn't think there was a one focus on anything. It was just all just so good and well put together, you know? I actually wouldn't be surprised if this did win Best Picture at this point. I'm kind of thinking it might. I don't know. We'll have to see other nominations and what films actually win at some of those other nominations as well. But Power of the Dog just blew me away. You should watch Power of the Dog if you haven't yet, also on Netflix. I think it requires a few viewings as well, because Power of the Dog, the story we're telling in this is so rooted, if that makes sense. It's a story that's just rooted in something so meaningful and so deep and personal, I think. And it's executed and just done so well. So it's a great experience to watch. Go watch Power of the Dog. You will not regret it. Mauritanian. Now we're getting into, again, back to like early 2021. This film, Jodie Foster was nominated at the Golden Globes for this one. Kind of made us think maybe we should be seeing a bit of the Mauritanian at the Oscars last year, but we ended up not, which is a real shame. It's a huge snub. The Mauritanian is so dang good. The story is a frustrating story, and I think it's done with a fair view of everything, you know? It just is. The story just is. Mauritanian tells the story of a man who was wrongfully kept at Guantanamo Bay for a few years. Benedict Cumberbatch is in this movie as well. Oh my gosh, I forgot. He knocks it out of the park in this movie as well. A lot of factors and facets go into trying to help this man who's very clearly innocent and being held there for no reason, help him prove his innocence and get him set free. I think I'm going to mention this. So like, I'm kind of reviewing this movie. So that's my non-spoiler portion. I'm going to talk about the end of this movie just real quick. So if you want to not get it spoiled, just go ahead and skip on to the next one. I should have these all chaptered out in there. So you should be able to go ahead and skip to the next one. It's been a while since I've seen it. But basically, as I remember, there's a very clear shot and image as things aren't going well of a picture of President George W. Bush, because he was president of the United States at the time that this first half of the movie is going on. As things start turning around and things start seeming a little more hopeful, we have a picture of President Obama in that same spot before, because he is now the president at this point. That's how long this whole event took place, right? I remember kind of thinking to myself, I was like, oh, okay, so a Democratic president fixed everything. Gotcha. Good for you, Hollywood. You're liberal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. That's the story you wanted to tell. That was your narrative. Good for you. But the very ending of it set us up for that, and then just shut that down by telling the actual truth of it. The actual truth of it being that the Obama administration specifically denied this guy being released. That sucks. That sucks so bad. And that's so frustrating. And it brought up a really unfortunate truth that's happening in this world, is that we're looking to political parties to like solve the problems, you know what I mean? When quite frankly, they're all the problems, you know? If I can get on my political rant for a second. You see both people in political party. If only we had Trump in office again, or oh my gosh, thank heavens we have Biden in office now. That's all of our problems are gonna be fixed. No problems have been fixed with anyone in office, really. You know what I mean? I think, and I'm just speaking generally, of course, you know, each president has done this or done that and it affected whatnot, what have you. But I think the narrative is starting to die down a little bit. I'm hoping that more people are aware of the fact that, wow, no one's really doing anything. None of these people we're electing are helping us, you know? It's really cool to see in a mainstream film see them call out that fact. So I like that. That was nice. Mauritania is a really good story, so you should definitely check out The Mauritanian. Last Night in Soho, Edgar Wright's film that was just a genre-bending mosh posh of all these things that I was just in love with the entire time. I was literally on the edge of my seat, just in this happy film land as I was watching these beautiful shots take place, this really cool story take place, these really specific Edgar Wright stylistic choices just presented to me, and I was just eating it all up. Last Night in Soho was so fun. I loved Last Night in Soho. Kind of seems like it got a little underrated, according to others. I think maybe people had different expectations for it. I'm really bummed it's not going to be around for award season this year. Just didn't make the cut. Is what it is. One of the snubs of the year will be the fact that Last Night in Soho isn't getting nominated for anything. If it were me deciding, I would put Last Night in Soho on my Best Picture list. I guess technically my top 10 list would be my Best Picture list, so I don't know. I don't have to clarify that. If you haven't seen Last Night in Soho yet, definitely rent it and give it a watch. It's totally worth it. West Side Story. I knew this was going to be great. I knew it. I wasn't expecting this to be anything less than good. It's Steven Spielberg taking on West Side Story. Of course, that is a recipe for success. My expectations were exceeded, of course. In the spirit of reviewing this film, I grew up on the original. You know, you've seen my mom and we talk about it. It's my mom's favorite movie. And I actually went to this movie with my mom, and it was interesting to hear her take on it because she liked it a lot. She pointed out to me there's maybe some differences between the original versus this one, where I think the original may have performed a little better. And as she was pointing this out to me, I was like, yeah, I think you're right. I agree with you on that. There's instances where the original maybe hits the points home a little better than this one does. However, this one tackles a lot more, I would say, and therefore does things a little more subtly, takes the more subtle approach, and that's just as effective in instances, if not more, than the original was at times. So West Side Story, if you haven't seen it yet, it's probably going to be in theaters for a while. So go watch it in theaters. Watch it in theaters. Please watch it in theaters. It's so good, and it was so fun to watch it in theaters. So if you can, please do. The Green Knight. I loved this movie. This had my number one spot actually here for a minute, and then the next two I watched recently, and they surpassed it. I was blown away by The Green Knight. I watched it in theaters. If you've seen this movie, you know the ending isn't really sad, but I was just so amazed by the art and the effectiveness of how the ending was. I had a little tear welling up that I was like, oh my gosh, that was so good. Wow, that was so good. And then the couple leaning next to me, dude leans into his wife or girlfriend or whatever and is like, well, that was the worst movie I've ever seen. So yeah, this movie wasn't for everyone. I get that. Back to the word palatable. I think this movie isn't as palatable, perhaps. It's not as accessible for everyone. And that's fair. I can appreciate why people were kind of turned off by this movie. I was just flabbergasted and floored by the entire experience. I don't really want to buy movies ever, but I might own this one. I might look into owning this movie because I really, really liked it. The Last Duel is another tragedy of this year in regards to film world. This got just wrecked at the box office. I think it came out same week Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings did, so it was just kind of doomed for failure there. You know, not many people heard about it. I was seeing trailers for it. I was perfectly aware of it and it was on my list to go see. But even I didn't get a chance to see it in theaters. And I'm really bummed that I had to rent this and then watch it. I feel like I'm part of the problem. So I really wish I had seen this in theaters. I'm sure my experience would have been much more if I had been able to see it in theaters. However, sitting down and watching this with my wife also made that a unique experience too, where we could sometimes pause and talk about it for a bit, talk about what we just saw. The Last Duel was also, I think, grotesquely underrated by just regular people. Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and Nicole, I don't know how to say her last name. I'm so sorry, Nicole. I doubt you'll watch this, but please forgive me. Those three just made an excellent script. From my understanding, I'll have to double check and look into this, but I believe Matt Damon's character's part, The Truth According to, I forgot his name. Ben Affleck wrote the Adam Driver part, and then Nicole wrote Jodie Comer's part. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. Such a cool concept that's so relevant to the Me Too movement, to things that we're dealing with today. And it's based on a real story that's happened. So this is something that's very clearly been happening from the beginning. You know what I mean? And it was so cool to just take a very wide look at the real problem that's going on here, you know? And even then, more specifically relating it to the problems that were existing in this time frame where we were much more sexist and there's expectations of women that were so unfair. I was just so touched by this movie. It's not a pleasant movie. The subject matter, I'm sure as you know, is not fun. This is one of the movies I gave a 10 out of 10 to this year because it was just, I think it felt necessary, I guess, I think that's what I'm getting at, which makes it even more of a shame that not a lot of people saw this movie, because I think this conversation needs to be had more, and what a great way to have this conversation than through this movie. If you haven't seen The Last Duel yet, I really, really want you to. I think you should. It's a great movie, and it can bring up a really interesting discussion about these kinds of things as they go down. So, Last Duel. Give it a watch. All right. The big granddaddy that I knew was going to be my favorite movie of the year, probably as soon as I first heard about it, I knew I was going to love this movie, but I was still blown away by it. My expectations were set high and they were met and exceeded. And that is The Tragedy of Macbeth, directed by Joel Cohen. So, as you know, I'm an actor. I've done Shakespeare before. It's fun. I was so curious to see just what he was going to do here. Shakespeare and film haven't always been that good of friends either. That doesn't always work sometimes. And I was curious if there was going to be any sacrificing the integrity of Shakespeare's actual script here. Now, of course it was cut down because all of Shakespeare's plays are intended to be 5 hours long, but they stayed really true to the text in basically the most important ways. And on top of that, Joel Cohen's creative spin and viewpoints and style just was so prevalent and evident in this movie. And it served the story so very well. It was so fun because I was seeing it with my buddy who knows Shakespeare kind of, but didn't know much about Macbeth, the story of Macbeth. I guess, I don't know, as one who likes Shakespeare, I'm always nervous, and this may be kind of a messed up thing, but I'm always nervous people aren't gonna get it, because the language is hard to follow sometimes. It's hard to follow along. And even as one who knows it, I can get lost sometimes. And even watching this movie, I got lost a couple times. But it was so cool to hear him. He was just he just followed everything. That's the beauty of Shakespeare, is it's just relevant and evident in every day and age. And that was something we ended up talking about. And maybe I will do a review and analysis of this one because I loved it so much. This is Shakespeare done well. Joel Cohen has my heart. I love the Coen brothers, and he just nailed this movie. I was so lucky to get to see it in theaters. I know it's not playing everyone in theaters right now. If you are able to go see it in theaters, definitely do so. But it is going to be streaming on Apple TV Plus on January 14th. So give it a watch there because it's definitely worth your time. If you're one who's I don't really feel like I'm following it, there's some super awesome, brief summaries on YouTube. Just give it one of those a watch. It just kind of walks you through the main elements of the story. As long as you know that, then you can just kind of follow along. Still, you may not get everything specifically, but you can at least know what's happening. If there's no shame in doing that, right? There's no shame in doing that at all. This movie sparked my love for Shakespeare again. I went and was reading the play afterwards, and I just so good. So good. My friend who I went and saw it with, he described it really well. I felt like this was a film where you ate, you had a nice meal, and you ate just the perfect amount. You didn't end the movie too full, oh, I'm so stuffed. Man, I ate way too much. That was delicious though. Or you're not needing more. Everything tasted so well. You just had a nice experience and you're just I'm good. I just feel so satisfied with everything as well. This is a film, honestly, and this is something I was a little worried about. If as as a Shakespeare fan, I'm totally aware of the fact that people who like Shakespeare are a little like about liking Shakespeare and kind of are like, well, if you don't get it, you don't get it. You know, and this film totally could have done that. Totally could have done that and been a little exclusive. I don't think so. It's not, doesn't try to dumb things down in any respect, but I don't think it's exclusive. It felt like a very inclusive experience to me. So go see Tragedy of Macbeth if you can, because it's just amazing. So good. All right, and there you go. That's it. I have 10 movies that I liked in 2021, and those are the ones. That's it. I didn't like any other movies. They were all stupid. Thank you for supporting the channel. It was really nice that I posted my Oscar predictions, and I had some of my regulars commenting, and a few newbies commenting as well and watching it, even though I said Nightmare Alley was a Netflix film. Why did I think that? What was that? Why? Whatever, man. It's fine. But anyway, point being, it was really cool that I got some views and comments on that. So appreciate your support. This channel's small potatoes, and I don't mind. It's fun. I just like doing this for fun, so appreciate it. But also, if you like what you see, definitely subscribe and help this channel grow. We would really appreciate your support. Comment your favorite movies of the year. I'd love to hear and discuss with you your favorite movies and hear what you think about it. Or any of these movies that you're like, man, I didn't really like this movie. I love hearing why people didn't or did like a movie. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Comment below. Thanks so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. Bye-bye.